Hello and welcome back. This is Sherry with Heart and Soulful. I'm back in the studio today. I wanted to pop on real quick. This is not the video I was planning to do next. I received a comment with the most brilliant idea, and so I wanted to share it because it addresses some concerns of another comment. And so I wanted to share that. And then also, I just had a comment a couple hours ago, and I wanted to maybe answer that also. So today's going to kind of be responding to a couple of the comments that I have. I know not everyone, goes back and reads those. So sometimes there's really helpful information. And this one, this idea, I don't know why I didn't come up with it. I want to thank Allie Tuttle Easton for this brilliant idea. Okay, her comment is referring back to a comment from someone else that cannot use aerosol sprays. And so I wanted to share an alternative that Allie came up with, and I don't know if she had tried it before or not. It was just a suggestion to try. So I thought before I present that, I'm going to try it myself. So I'm going to show you what I did, and I'm going to test it. I'm not sure if it worked or not, but I'm going to test it here on camera, and we'll all find out together. So this is the one I did the test on first, but I need to kind of now check and see if it worked. So what she suggested was to use a matte medium. Now, I don't know if she specified whether to use the gel, which is thicker, or just the regular Liquitex matte medium, fluid medium. I decided to try the fluid because it's something that maybe you already have. I don't, for using for collage, a medium that you use, it's more liquid. And then the thicker ones I use for maybe thicker papers or things like that. So it's just basically an acrylic medium that doesn't have tint in it, so no color. So it's going to dry clear. So what she suggested was you put this on the gel plate, roll it out, and then just print onto your printed paper and see if that will coat the whole thing without having to brush it on. And then when you pull it up, you haven't smeared anything. So this was a paper that I did a batch probably a year ago. So I didn't even do the little trick that I learned since then about putting the gesso on the white lines. So my little dots and things are not very perfect because they were done on rice paper for the most part. So I did roll it out on here. I had another paper nearby so that I can get off any excess because using the fluid medium is pretty wet. So I'm gonna just test this first, but then I also wanted to try this thicker paper and see how that would work. So this is with, if you've been following along, I'm working with papers that we created using our gel prints. So I guess I should back up. And if you're brand new to my channel and you haven't seen what I'm talking about here, I have a link down in the description for a playlist that starts from the beginning on these projects that I'm doing using gel prints. So this is going to be maybe the one we work on next. I'm not sure, but I had several projects. They're in the first video of the series showing you some things that I made. Last video, we did the actual start to finish project of creating these vessels. So I do have a comment about this as well. So if you haven't been watching, you might want to kind of see what's going on here with these papers. But we've done a lot of pen work on these papers with maybe gel pens and glitter pens and that sort of thing that are water soluble. So before we can use them in projects like this, we have to seal the paper so that we don't ruin all the pen work we did. To do that, I was using Camar varnish, which works great, but I had a comment from someone who lives in an area that cannot use aerosols. So this might be the ticket here. So I'm going to grab a brush just real quick here and see what happens to this if I add. I'm just going to use, since I did this with fluid medium and it's going to dry clear, I'm just going to do that again, just in a little spot, just to see if I get any smearing, because I'll do it where I have some, I know I have some metallic pen here, and look at that, it's not coming off. So it did work. So I was able to, I'm just going to do that little spot, but I was able to put this on the gel plate with my medium, and it's not coming off. So that's nice. So you can, if you don't feel like you have a heavy enough coat, which I think it's fine because we just needed to seal it so that when we're doing decoupage or anything like that where we're introducing something thinner like this, we don't just brush off all the work we did. So that does work. So I'm going to do this piece because it's thicker and you can see it's not flat. And I do have, you know, lots of stuff on that. And I don't think this is one that I sealed yet. Hopefully it is not. I guess I could test a little bit and see if that comes off, but I don't really want to mess it up. So I think I'm going to just go ahead and try this one. And maybe if I had another one, because this one looks like it has a sheen a little bit. So I'm thinking I may have sprayed that one already. I'm just wanting to grab, maybe this one will work. This one I know I have not. It's hard to tell once you've sealed it if it, this one seems like it has maybe a little bit of a shine. So I think I want to do more pen work on this, but I think that if even though I've sealed it with a matte medium, I can still add more pen work. So I'm going to go ahead and if I don't, it has quite a bit anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and do this one just because I know it doesn't have anything on it. So I'm just going to put some of that here and roll it out. I'm using my 9x12 gel plate because these papers are all different sizes. And so I'm thinking I probably don't have any longer than that 9x12. So I'm just going to roll this. I got a little too much here. I wanted to make sure I had a good enough coating on this. I'm sorry for the glare. It's either work in the dark or have a glare. My son tells me he can help me with my lighting. So he's going to come for a visit at the end of July, I think. And hopefully we'll have time to help me out with that. Now I should wipe this off. Actually, it is going to stick. I was afraid I was going to have to put books on this because it was kind of wonky. And I think I still might anyway. I'm going to get a baby wipe and wipe this excess off so I don't get it on my book. Because I want this to dry. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure this is really making contact. And this is just a Baron, a Speedball Baron. I'll put that down below also. And I just want to get nice pressure over the whole thing because I can feel, you know, it wants to bubble a little bit. So I'm going to put this Heady Dictionary on it. And I'm going to let that dry for a few minutes and then we'll come back and peel that off and see how that one turned out. So the other tip that I have while this is drying, I had a question from someone. I used the golden gloss medium for this one. For the previous ones, and I haven't decided which I like best. You know, some things I want glossy and some things I like more matte. This is really pretty, you know, when it's glossy, it's almost like something that has been fired in a kiln. Whereas the older ones that I did, I used Mod Podge, and it was one that it was meant for furniture. So it does not dry sticky or anything like that. I don't remember the sheen on it. I don't have the bottle here. I was going to try to buy some more today, but I didn't get out on my errands. So I'm going to try to find the product again that I used for this one because it has less sheen, but it's very durable. Has a little, you know, it's kind of a semi-gloss maybe compared to the other one. So it does have a nice finished look and it's not sticky at all. It dried nice and dry. I had someone ask me today if this dried sticky because in their experience, just the regular Mod Podge gloss one did dry sticky. So I know what she means. That can happen sometimes, especially depending on what humidity in where you live. I live in dry climates, so I don't really have that problem. But one thing you can try if you've done something and now it's sticky, it's dry, but it still has not a nice feel to it. Try putting on some of this Dorland's wax medium, and it's just a cold wax, so it doesn't take very much. I probably shouldn't be just using my finger for this. I put it on with I have like a flannel shirt that I've torn up for little rags. And so it doesn't take very much, but it's really for a protective top coat. and you buff it out. So what you want to do is put it on and let it dry for like 24 hours. You just put it on with a cloth, not heavy. It's really, it does not take very much. This will last me forever. So just put it on and let it dry overnight, and then come back with a clean cloth and buff it out, because it has, it's wax. So the first layer, when you put it on, it is going to dry sticky because it's wax. But once it's dry, then you can buff it out. And I've used it on this. And so you can buff it to the shine you want. Now it's not as shiny anymore as the high gloss. And you could maybe just go over like if, I don't know what she's done with the Mod Podge, but go over it with this one, and hopefully that would dry and hard and not be sticky at all. But these are not sticky at all, so they feel great. So like I had said before, there's different products. I always kind of think use what you have, but if you're ready to try, maybe you've just been using very basic, inexpensive products and you want to try something that is a little more professional, then, go ahead and maybe spend a little bit more. You kind of get what you pay for. So that's my suggestion for that to try. Now, let me see if this is dry enough. It's only been on there the length of time that I've been talking, and it's still really wet. So I'm going to leave it longer. And I can actually kind of see by pulling this up. It is pulling up a little bit of my pen work, the blue pen on here. I see it down on my print, and I also see some of this metallic one. But I'm going to leave it down till it's dry, and hopefully it will pull all that back up. So this is just kind of an experiment. So I'm going to actually have to turn my camera off, let this dry, and I'm going to try to time how long that took, and I'll let you know when I'm back. Okay, it's been 17 or 18 minutes, and I'm going to go ahead and see what this looks like. Now, it's leaving behind some of it's not quite dry. It's close. I'm going to go ahead and pull it up because it's close. And see, it did pretty well. I mean, I think this is a good solution to not being able to. I see a little bit of my ink on my plate, not too bad. So I think had I left it on and not been checking it from time to time, then I would have been better off. So I would say put it down and leave it for half an hour. That way you'll know for sure that it's all adhered to the top. And then I think you're good to go. So for those of you who don't want to use aerosol, I understand. I would try this. So I just used, again, the Liquitex matte medium, the fluid medium. You could, I'm sure, try the gel would be, it would go on also and be thicker. I don't know about dry time with that. But, any type of medium like that, I think should work. So again, dry time depending on what you use and where you live. So that's it for this video. I'm going to get to the next thing that we're going to make. I thought I was going to be doing magnets, but honestly, that was the next most popular request. But honestly, these are super easy and quick, and they're using such a small scrap that I'm kind of want to do these videos in the order of the things that I made, because that's how they evolved. They evolved based on scraps that I was creating. For example, if you watched the last video when we did the container, when I cut this striped paper, I had a strip left. So yes, I could use this for those magnets, cutting that up. I guess I could do that. But the other thing in my mind, when I actually was doing projects, I was using that strip for these borders on my panel. And then from there, I would have even smaller strip pieces. So in this case, say I did my 8-inch panel, I had this much left over. Well, that could maybe be cut and make 2 magnets. So I'm going to kind of go in the order, I think, of the scrap sizes that I have, because my scraps just kept getting smaller and smaller. And the other thing that I did before I did the magnets were the little blank cards. Again, because you were cutting up a fairly good size piece and then having scraps left over. So I think that's what I'll do. I'll prepare myself for one of those 2 videos, and then we'll do the magnets. So, and then there's other things too, and I'm sure I'll come up with other ideas before I get too far along here. So that's it for this one. I hope that was a helpful tip, and also the Dorland's wax. So have a great rest of your day. Now go make something. Bye.